Hi, welcome to Meet Me Where I Am. I'm Ashley and I'm with my mom, Sue. We're your co-hosts today, and we just posted our first episode a few hours ago, and we realized that we really didn't explain like who we are. And I'm sure you'll learn about who we are as we talk to you more, but we kind of wanted to give you just like the Cliff's Notes version. Right, Mom?
Yes, I think that is definitely a thing that we kind of missed, where we really didn't talk about our own personal history of how we've come to where we are. We did describe some certain events and things that led us here, but
we both had a similar experience in 2015/16, where we both had like what we refer to as a political awakening. And it was more realizing that the things that we held dear were actually more liberal than conservative. And literally that's all it was. It wasn't even that we were all, full on blue liberal or full on red Republican. I'm just saying, like, we determined that, I had no idea.
That is definitely one aspect of that we missed about as far as our personal history goes. I think we kind of touched on a little bit in the introduction. My thing is kind of describing like how I was raised and the things that led me to this point.
Yeah. Exactly. How did you come to this? Why do you think that we need to do this podcast, and why is it important to you to do this? I know that we did talk about that a little bit on the first one, but what specifically in your personal history?
So I'm going to be 64 years old. So I was born in the early 60s, and I don't really recall a lot of the events of the 60s because I was a little baby or
young,
a little toddler. But there were some major upheaval events in the 60s, such as the assassination of JFK and Woodstock and the Vietnam War, and then the assassination of MLK and RFK. So there was a lot of things going on.
Yeah, these all happened in your childhood, and
I wasn't really familiar with them. I started learning about them in the 70s, when there was also quite a few things happening then, like Nixon and Watergate and him resigning and all those kinds of things. Raised in a small town, conservative. My parents, as far as I know, were both Republicans. They didn't really talk politics a lot, but talked about it enough that I kind of understood that they were farmers generally tend to be more conservative and vote Republican. And so just being raised in that environment, going to church every Sunday and all those kinds of things led me to, when the first time I voted, I didn't really question it. I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to vote like my parents did. And so I did that, unfortunately, for
and I think that a lot of people probably began their voting journey in a similar fashion.
Right.
A lot of people probably did that too.
Right. Because this isn't something that they teach you in high school. They don't say, by the way, let's talk about politics. And it's one of the, well-known things.
They teach you, obviously they teach you the different branches of government and stuff like that in school, but no, they don't teach you that if this person says this, then that means that.
Right.
Like there's too much nuance in it, for sure. And even as a kid, I could never understand all of the political things going on, all of the the different moves that they make. Exactly. I know. Right. So we could never even begin to understand it.
But at the time when I was a kid, it was basically frowned upon to tell people who you voted for. It's like once you win that, Whenever you get together for family gatherings, just don't bring up religion or politics, right?
Or the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Thank
Whatever.
you. Yeah.
So I got married at a young age, started having babies when I was 20, moved far away from home, and having been raised in religion and everything, and I tried to find a church that I felt comfortable in, but I started questioning things even in my 20s.
Yeah. And so you were questioning the status quo and the more of the like, why do the guys get to make all the calls sort of thing? Like you came to that realization, right?
It was a multitude of things. It wasn't just exactly what the Bible was saying about certain things, but who wrote the Bible? Who wrote it? When did they write it? There were other books that could have been included, but they weren't. Well, what happened to those? All of those things.
So in addition to your political awakening, you were also trying to discover who you were spiritually.
Basically, yes. From a very young age, I had doubts. And, even I would
And that's totally common and normal, but everybody thinks that it's not, but it is.
Right. Even from the age of probably, say, 13 is when I started really questioning it. And I just questioned it. I didn't really delve into it a lot. I didn't go to church. I didn't study the Bible. I just lived my life and just got on.
Try to be a good person. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to be a good person, live a moral life, not hurt anybody, blah, blah, blah. Take care of my kids, take care of myself, take care of my family. And it was kind of the same way with politics. It's like, when elections came up, I would watch the debates and, make decisions. But I kind of pretty much had already decided. Like when I saw Obama debate McCain, I thought McCain won.
You did. Yeah. Interesting.
And I'm like, well, he made a good point, but it was a very civil debate that I was watching anyway. Not
for sure.
Like some of the things that are happening today.
Yeah, more recently. Yeah.
It was, but you know what? So because I was questioning religion, and I even, I got the Book of Mormon and read part of that, and I went to some other like New Age wooey kind of things, and I even learned about twin rays and soulmates, and like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Crystals, and like.
Oh yeah, Reiki, like you went the full spectrum of possibilities. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean I didn't delve into them, but I said, oh, what's this about? Well, that sounds like
you tried every outlet possible and came to what conclusion?
I came to the conclusion that I don't know.
Yeah. That's totally fair.
I don't know. And so the reason why that ties into what we're doing now is because there were times when I did question things, and there were times when I didn't question things. And I wished I had questioned things all the time, instead of just always just assuming that I knew what was going on and that I knew what I was doing and that I understood the assignment,
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people do. They just get in their echo chambers. They listen to this news source. And, I want to, as I get older, believe as many true things as I possibly can. And in order to do that, that means sometimes I have to question why I believe, what I believe. And I remember when I was in my early 30s, I forget what book I read. It was in one of my soul searching days where I went to the library and took out 2 or 3 books at once, thinking that people say, what do you think the strongest force in the world is, And when I was in my early 30s, I realized that it's our personal beliefs, I think, that are the strongest force in the world, because you make all of your decisions in your life based on what you believe. Like, I believe maybe everybody shouldn't own guns, so I'm not going to own a gun. Or I believe in God, and so I'm going to go to church, and I'm going to be religious, and I'm going to do this and that, and this is how I'm going to treat people.
Right. As John Mayer said, belief makes things real and makes things right. Like we if we believe that what we're doing is right, then it's right.
Right. And like everything that every decision you make and every action that you take is based on what you believe. So that has really big influence in your life. And sometimes it has influence in other people's lives. And certainly people that are higher up in power, their beliefs can completely affect a nation. And so that's why I think that, it's a good idea for people to actually think about what they believe and why they believe it. You don't choose your beliefs per se. You take your life experience and your, evidence and facts and, logical reasoning and sometimes emotional reasoning to come to the conclusions for your beliefs, right? It's not like you say, I choose this. It's like, well, I believe this because this happened to me.
It could be other examples of things that happened. You have a history of what it could be. We come to our beliefs in 1,000 different ways, for sure. Let me talk a little bit about my journey for a second. So it's so funny to hear you talk about your journey, and because I also had a similar, obviously you're my mother, so similar upbringing, but one vast difference is that obviously you and my father divorced when I was a child. And so I didn't have the stability of a home that, had both parents. So that just added another level. It immediately pitted you guys against each other. And so then I was taking your beliefs from I was taking beliefs from two different sides. It very much felt like polar opposites, even though you're not. Right. But you were still my parents. And so I shouldn't have had that idea that you were completely different. And because you were, obviously doing the best with what you had at the moment. So, but anyway, so I did not question any of it. I didn't question any of it, even when the World Trade Center towers were crumbling. And my first election, I voted for W in 2004. Yeah, that was my first election that I actually didn't feel comfortable in my early 20s talking about my political beliefs. I was uncomfortable because I was living in Chicago. I had moved from Texas, being born and bred in Texas, and moved up to Chicago. So it was a vast,
where we all know everybody's a liberal up here, right?
Well, yeah, and I didn't realize the enormous chip on the shoulder of the entire Central Illinois community that they have for Chicago. Like, Chicago is an enormous chip.
I mean,
it's very much a thing. So, but I did not feel comfortable talking about it. And even in my current and only long-term relationship with my husband, he very much was liberal-minded from the get-go. And I was very, very, leaning right. And I told him a couple times, like, I don't want to talk about this with you because, like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like you have my best interest at heart and all that. Like you're just trying to make me feel stupid and all this stuff. And that's like, that was the hill that I was willing to die on for much of my 20s is like, no, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't care.
Right.
And it was only when I started having children. I had 2 children in 2015, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it began in 2015. I mean, like it's been happening for a long, long time, but it was formidable. And
it was the end of the Obama
really, really bad.
And exactly. Frankly, there was a lot of things that happened during those 8 years that we just didn't pay attention to.
Yeah.
2015, for some reason, we said, hey, why weren't we paying attention to this?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to also make clear that I was a Republican living in Chicago, and I hate to admit this, but I did not vote for Obama either time. I voted for McCain the first time. And then the second time I abstained because I was at home with a newborn baby.
I think I abstained the second time too. I just don't recall that specific election.
I can't even tell you the amount of regret I have for not voting for him at all.
Right.
Because like just knowing what I know now, very much like, oh my God, why didn't I vote for him? Don't get it. But it was because of what I believed. It was because of how I was brought up. In 2016, I had a lot of personal relationships that were jeopardized because of my political beliefs, and a lot of really close relationships were up in the air for a while, and honestly, kind of still kind of are, because of my political beliefs.
Has not ever fully recovered.
Exactly. So, I understand how important this is and how much attention we really need to be giving this. And I'm hoping that we are able to help, give people the knowledge and the words that they need to have these difficult conversations, because I know it's important to have them. And I know it's not always going to be comfortable. And I know it's not always easy, but like you need to put yourself into uncomfortable situations to evoke the most change. Like if we want change, if we want to come to a better understanding, then we have to try to understand each other. We have to meet us where we are.
I just think that, given our current climate, and, also based on, my life experience and everything that's happened to me in the past 64 years, that I can't just sit back and ride that I don't know what's going on, and I'm not really
can't be complacent anymore.
I'm not going to do anything about it, huh?
Yeah, we can't be complacent anymore.
I can't be complacent anymore. So I don't know, like a lot of people have the whole doom and gloom for, the future of our country for differing reasons. There are people on the right who think the liberals have overtaken everything and that we're trying to shove trans people down their throat. And so they're all afraid of, I don't know what, and now, like, even as of today, we've got people in Los Angeles protesting the ICE raids and just like breaking into people's houses and taking them off to wherever with no due process. And supposedly the president called for the National Guard. So there's this polarization and maybe that polarization has always been there. And maybe now to me, it just feels or seems like it's really like imminently, like you really need to pay attention to this. That maybe it's been this way in the past 40 years and I just wasn't paying attention.
It's been like this for the whole time. I think that our friends that have dark skin have been telling us that this has been the way it's been this whole time. Right. So like we can believe them, and we can acknowledge, our shortcomings in the past, and we can also move on and grow and like be better people tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I get that there have been many conversations that I've avoided and like just purposely not ever had, because I didn't want to, ruffle feathers. I didn't want to make anybody upset.
Don't rock the boat, baby.
But it's not about rocking the boat. It's about coming to an understanding. And so if you go into these conversations with this approach of, I'm not trying to win them over, I'm not trying to convince them of anything, I'm just trying to understand where they're coming from. If you go into that conversation that way, then you'll be successful in your conversation, because then you're not trying to win anything. You're trying to better understand that person's point of view.
Right.
So
like even as I was, raising you kids, I did have a more conservative mindset. I wanted to be the stay-at-home mom. I wanted to take care of my kids. I didn't want to put you in daycare,
then that's perfectly fine.
Go back to work, but when you were little, I wanted to be there. I believed that was better for you and for us as a family, But now I see that, well, maybe I should have done that, and maybe I should have worked, and but over the years, I've changed, and I know that I've changed, and my beliefs have changed, and so I think that if somebody had actually said to me, "Hey, did you ever think about this?" and the answer was no, then maybe it should have been, maybe you should, maybe you should think about it. And that's why I think that, I'm not going to force anybody to re-examine their beliefs or examine their beliefs. But if somebody comes to me and says, yeah, I'm willing to talk about that, then I'm willing to talk about it and learn and understand too. I mean, I want to know, what people think and why they think what they think, and
well, that's exactly how do you start that conversation with that person? Is that what you say? Are you comfortable talking to me about X, and so that I can come to a better understanding of where of how you came to that conclusion? Is that what you say? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
So
I don't know.
It's going to be a learning process to get there,
for
because
sure.
It's not something that we're really used to doing.
That's what I'm trying to say is that if we want to encourage our listeners to consider having these difficult conversations with people that are close to them, then you need to establish some ground rules, right? You need to establish I just want to talk to you about this, and just to get your mindset on this. And I'm not coming to you from a place of judgment. I'm coming to you from a place of understanding. And I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm not going to call you any names or anything like that. Agreement for civil conversation, right?
Well, I mean, maybe that's something that we can talk about in our next podcast, is how do you open these doors and windows and start to have these conversations. I hope you know more about us now, and if we've explained a little bit about how we've come to where we are today, and maybe that'll give you the opportunity to sit down and think about yourself in that way. You're like, why do I believe what I do today? How did my journey go? What happened to me along the way that pointed me in this direction instead of that direction?
Right.
And then also still, do I still believe the things I did believe 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Am I still there, or am I further down that road?
Did I come to these decisions based off of, what my parents thought, or what I was told as a young child, or exactly.
Right. Or do I have myself in such an echo chamber that I don't even really hear the other side? Do I really want to hear the other side? And also, because like I said before, I want to believe as many more true things as possible. At this point in my life, I just want to believe things that are true. And sometimes when, something happens in, the world, and you hear these stories and you read these articles, and one thing says, well, this happened, and one thing says, well, that happened. And I try to, not jump to conclusions, and to really, really look at it like, well, what really did happen here? Like, I know what this says, but
peel back like one layer of whatever it is. Peel back one tiny layer of just look into it one time.
Right. And so but even then, when I'm absolutely looking for what actually really happened, sometimes it's difficult, especially from the bias standpoint, like, well, this is a more liberal leaning and that's a more conservative leaning. So they'll each have their own bent on it, and neither one is exactly the truth either.
Right. Yeah.
But
there's the left side, then there's the right side, then there's the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really hard sometimes to find out exactly, because I personally don't believe that everything conservatives say and do is completely off base or wrong. And, it's the same thing with liberals. I don't believe that everything liberals say and do is completely on base and right.
Correct.
We all make mistakes. We all have, different ways of looking at things.
We all have shortcomings. We all have things that we need to work on.
Right. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I think that the first step that everybody needs is to re-examine your social media, how much you're on social media, because we highly encourage disconnecting from social media in order to get your mind into more of an open-minded position. And that's so true, because I talk to lots of friends of mine that are very passionate about all of these political events happening, and they can't hear me sometimes. Because I'm coming to it from a different mindset. I'm coming to it from the mindset of not knowing all of the other stuff,
all the answers. I think that that's certainly something that anybody listening, hopefully, I don't know, to this podcast is going to say, yeah, I want to go on this journey. And so part of that journey would be definitely to examine your social media presence and the kind of conversations you're having online, for sure.
Yeah.
You also,
as a first step,
like, hey, I'm just listening to you guys right now, and I haven't really made a decision one way or the other. And so I don't really want to examine my social media right now, and that's okay too. That it's all, it's a pick and choose, and other things that we're presenting here, we're just learning along the way, and you have to decide what brings truth to you, and what sounds like something that you want to proceed with, and something that you want to pursue, and leave what doesn't fit for you, because we're trying to meet you where you are, and part of that is understanding that
you got to meet us where we are first.
What?
You got to meet us where we are first.
Leave Twitter now.
Yeah. No. No, of course not.
Of course not.
Yeah. Thanks for the good chat, Mom. It's been a lot of fun. We'll definitely do this again. And have a great day, everybody.
Okay, bye.